I'd like to talk about the Wounded Warriors charity event this year. One of the warriors from last year was a fellow named Brian Grenier out of the East Coast. And he's a former Marine who does physical therapy and rehabilitation for wounded Marines that got their Purple Hearts in Afghanistan and Iraq. And Brian said, could we maybe have our wounded warriors train and do therapy, use this ride as a goal? And that got me thinking. And so I went to Larry H. Miller Charities and I said, I hate charities that take a management overhead. Well, they immediately said, well, we don't. The Larry H. Miller family pays all management overhead and all donations go to the cause. And I said, well, would you be willing to support a scholarship fund for the children of wounded warriors? And they said, well, let us check it out. And they did their homework and they talked to the generals and here in the Utah National Guard. And they normally take an overhead, and they got them to agree to administer these scholarship funds with no overhead. Now, when you get a call from the firemen and the police department or whoever looking for money for a good cause, I always ask them, what percent of my money goes to that cause? And the answer is, well, 25% or maybe 30%. That includes United Way and March of Dimes and everything else. And suddenly I lose my cherub-like demeanor. I don't like that. I think charities, when you donate for a cause, it ought to go 100% to that cause. If you donate to the Wounded Warriors charity, 100% of your money will be administered to scholarships for the children of those wounded warriors. And if you give at least $100, and if you'd ordered one of those swell custom jerseys this year, you'll have a different neckband, and on the back of it will be Wounded Warrior Donor on it. Otherwise, you'll just get a regular old neckband. That's the goal. Now, I'd like to introduce you to Brian Grenier, who sent me a video of himself talking about the Wounded Warriors. Then I'll close her up. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Brian Grenier, and I am the Program Director for the United States Marine Corps Wounded Warriors Battalion East Cycling Project. Wounded Warriors Battalion East is a battalion inside 2nd Marine Division that was developed to handle the wounded warriors as they came back from their initial rehabilitation from injuries received on the battlefield during the War of Terror. This is quite a complex process, but it was one that the Marine Corps tackled and created a battalion, a unit specially formed just for that reason. The genesis for the program started where we needed to come up with an exercise philosophy that allowed for low impact aerobic conditioning for the Marines after they have recovered from their initial phases of medical recovery. One of the things that we use is we use a book called Spark that was written by Dr. John J. Ratty. And the surprising thing about this book was that it was built around the fact that a human being's learnability is higher just after exercise, and especially aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise helps to develop different types of brain chemicals that helps an individual learn. One of the reasons that this is very supportive when you're treating someone with traumatic brain injury is because they've actually lost portions of their brain, and their brain is going through a healing process where it tries to rewire itself. Unbeknownst to myself, I use these techniques in my own personal recovery from traumatic brain injury, or TBI, in the latter phases of 2007. Once the battalion was formed, it was commanded by Colonel Tom Siebenthal. One thing that really helped me out as an individual was Colonel Siebenthal was my first commanding officer ever when I first joined the Marine Corps as a private back in 1981. One of the things that I, as a trainer or a program director, had to do was I had to come up with a program that was workable within the confines of the Marine Corps. Our battalion meets twice a week with its cyclists in the Wounded Warriors Battalion East Gymnasium, where we have stationary trainers, hand crank trainers, recumbent trainers, and actually donated Trek bicycles on fluid kinetic trainers that we use to help train the Marines in cycling. And then also what we do is we have what's called tracking. We use trainingpeaks.com to help track each individual's progress as he moves along in his sessions of training, which helps me as a trainer, the physicians, the neurologists, and the psychologists see what's going on with the Marine each and every single day that he's training. But the most important thing to me as a trainer was to have goals. Being a competitive athlete myself, I know that in order to reach higher levels of fitness, you have to have a goal to reach for. It's great to try to lose some weight for your wife or your spouse or your friend or whatever, but when it means something to you is when you reach the pinnacle of your success. Last year I took part in the 300 Warriors Project, which took place during stage 4 of the Tour of Utah UCI professional bike race. Stage 4 is the most grueling of the toughest stage race in the United States of America. It's an awesome event. After being on the phone with my friend Todd Carton, Todd told me, he said, "Brian, why not put Warriors and Warriors together?" That day I immediately called Rick Bennett, and Rick, I know you're out there seeing this, and we put it together. Warriors and Warriors made sense. What a fantastic thing that we could do. We could actually take warriors that were wounded on the battlefield, set them a goal of taking part in the 1,000 Warriors ride in 2009, and bring both those things together to have an awesome display. This worked out fantastic, to the point where we are actually going to be doing a Wounded Warriors charity function during the Tour of Utah, where individuals can give charity donations to the Larry Miller Foundation for education for the dependent children of wounded warriors. Had a lot of help along the way, and I couldn't not finish up any video without saying that. Rick Bennett has been hours and hours of help on the phone. Terry McGinnis, Greg Miller, Bruce Hendler, who is my personal coach, who also oversees some of the training that takes place here at the Wounded Warriors Battalion, Christina McCormick, who is our massage therapist, and Aaron Sayers, who is the physical trainer that takes care of the initial portion of a lot of the Marines' physical recovery in the initial phases. So in closing, I'd like to say thanks a lot. Thank you for viewing our little video cast today, and we hope to see you on the mountains of Utah. We'll be there, will you?
Thanks, Brian. Now, the music you're hearing now is called The High Price of Victory. These warriors have paid a pretty high price of victory. And I have a goal that I'd like to have some volunteers among you who maybe don't want to do the race and get the winning purse for the winner. Maybe you'd like to be part of the honor guard for these wounded warriors. Now, they're all going to be together. Marines won't leave each other. If some of them can't do the whole ride, they'll start out with us, and then they'll go into their SAG car. We'll have a dedicated SAG car for each wounded warrior, but they're going to stay with the rest of the guys because Marines never leave each other, and they're going to cross the finish line together. And I'd like an honor guard, some bicyclists carrying flags, some who can't do the whole ride. We'll let get back on their bikes, say around Tanner's Flat near Snowberg, and then they can cross the finish line on their bikes. And if they can't, there'll be some who can't. If those of you who have a tandem bicycle and want to host a wounded warrior, let me know, send me an email. If you can carry a flag and ride at the same time, that's great. We'll try to get some lightweight flags. And as each warrior crosses the finish line, the announcer will be announcing their Purple Heart citation. So I hope you can see your way clear to give some money in the check box at the registration site to the Wounded Warrior Fund. It's going to go to scholarships for children of wounded warriors, and I flat guarantee you that 100% of that money is going to go to the Wounded Warriors scholarships, and it's not going to go to management overhead, because people shouldn't be in the business of raising money. They should get their salaries from that. People involved in charity ought to be doing just that. And that's why I like Larry H. Miller Charities and the Miller family paying all that management overhead. So join me. These guys paid a high price. Thanks a lot.